Okay, we're ready to roll? Okay. We will call the Italian Village Commission meeting to order for today, November 9th, 2021. Our next business meeting will be Tuesday, November 30th, 2021 at noon, here in the same room, 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. Our next official hearing is Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 4 p.m. in this same room. So I will now swear in the staff. Will you state your name for the record?
Jacqueline Lehman, Assistant Historic Preservation Officer.
And you promise to tell the truth, the best of your ability in your testimony this afternoon.
I do.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, introduction of commissioners. We'll just go around. Oh, there she is. Do you want to announce your name for the record?
Brooke Michael Smith. Shannon Burgess.
Jason Sudi.
David Cook.
Okay. What was the hearing format on the agenda? Have you seen that before?
No.
Is that something we need to cover? Overview of hearing format?
It should be the same as the last couple.
Maybe I just didn't notice it.
You can definitely read it out if you like.
No, that's okay. I just didn't know if it was, and then say work, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so do we have a public forum today?
I have a couple.
Excellent. All right, so let's go about the staff approvals. It looks like they start on page 8 of the agenda. So if I could have a motion, then we'll go back to abstentions.
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And I'll go through for abstentions. 778 Kerr Street, 298 East 4th, 971, 973 North 6th. That's it? Okay, that was short. Guess it's not summertime anymore.
We didn't take a vote on it.
Yeah, we did a voice vote.
Right.
So, okay, going back to the top of the agenda, we have number 1, 287 East
Oh,
Greenway.
do we want to vote the minutes into the record?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I seem to forget that every single time. Can I have a motion for approval of the meeting minutes from October 12th, 2020?
So moved.
In a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Everybody else votes yes, so it passes. Now, let's go into the actual. So with that, 287 East Greenwood, do we have an applicant here for that? Like we do not. So let's skip that and we'll come back to it. 176, 178 East 2nd Avenue. Get you sworn in instead of just settle into the seats. Would you please state your name for the record?
Got it flat.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
I do.
Okay, great. Staff will give us their update and then we'll turn it over to you.
This application is proposing to add landscaping at the west side of the building between the building and the existing fence. The landscaping is to include stepping stones, grass, a few vegetation items, and including the magnolia tree for the submitted materials. So at the October business meeting, the commission noted that magnolia trees can get large and spread out and suggested the applicant consider some alternatives to the magnolia due to the location immediately adjacent to the home. And trees touching the home may also keep or trap moisture if it's right up against the house. So staff recommends approval of application ID-21-11-005, 176 and 178 East Second Avenue as submitted, with any clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate. And that recommendation is based on that the work is generally consistent with the city code standards for site improvements.
Great. Okay, over to you.
I don't have much. We're definitely open in terms of the magnolia tree. I get it for the moisture. We could replace that with like a boxwood or something that would be kept lower and away from the building. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to keep something low. I was actually just walking down this alley, just that the neighborhood house may have a version of a magnolia that's a lot less, it's a lot smaller.
On the other side of the alley.
Yeah,
Okay, I
I
know
didn't
exactly
look
what
very
you're
specifically, but I was kind of cruising
Yep.
through. And so I think the point is to pick a species that is just not gonna, because there are some magnolia trees that are like massive, huge, it's just not big of a space. So that's the only thing from my end. I think you could do it to the satisfaction of staff if you just give them an example of the specific tree.
Okay.
Because, same thing, like maple, you could have all kinds of maples, you could have all kinds of
Yep.
whatever. So just give them that exact tree. And from my perspective, it just is something that will be reasonably sized in that alley, so it doesn't get all hacked up and look terrible as the terrible tree murderers that go through from the electric company and others do in our neighborhood. So anyway, other thoughts?
I don't have any comment. I would say that we have not approved the Magnolia, and all we're waiting for is a substitution plan that would be approved by staff.
Just really something that's along the
Spalliate, it could be a flat-sided
Sure.
fruit tree, pear tree.
Sure.
Okay,
Does staff, do you have what you need from us?
Yeah,
This-
so just to confirm, more just a compact tree that would fit in that space or compact planting.
Yeah, really either. And I'm just, if they want to have something vertical, I'm not saying they shouldn't have a tree. Just being cognizant of the fact that it's relatively small space and butts right up against an alley. So, yeah, just something that will maintain its long-term aesthetic beauty. You won't have to get kind of hacked up as it gets bigger. And we're happy to help the, subcommittee to do that, just the cut sheet bill. And by we, I mean it. Okay, so can I have a motion?
Motion to approve ID-21-10-009.
Great, and are you okay to make that contingent upon staff approval of the final tree cut sheet?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Yep,
you.
good luck. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Doesn't this applicant show up again?
Yes, do
We
we
do.
want to jump to?
Oh, good, let's do it.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, let's do it.
You're ready to go there.
Yeah, let's do it for sure. So where is that? Number 9. Excellent efficiencies, right? Okay, so, whenever you're ready, staff, fill us in on what's going on.
Here we go. Okay, for this next application, the code violation has been issued for work prior to review and approval. So the work includes that the rear concrete steps and stoop have been modified. A wood cover has been added on top and on the side of the existing concrete stoop. The concrete steps have been removed and wood steps have been added to the side of the platforms. The proposal is to retain the wood modifications and add a wood header and footer to cover the platforms completely per the staff recommendation. And to add a handrail and resurface the door jamb to make sure water is pushed away from the building. So at the October business meeting, some commissioners thought it would be easier to refurbish the existing concrete, but were not necessarily opposed to the proposal using wood. Those commissioners noted they would support repair and painting of the concrete. The commission asked if the new wood steps would have open sides and noted that they would need to see more details regarding the railing, pointing out the concern that the railing might not be able to span the length shown and be supported. So staff did conduct a site visit in September for this property, and based on the work completed and the desire of the owner or applicant to cover the visual deterioration of those non-historic concrete steps, staff suggested adding wood headers and footers to cover the platforms completely so that no partial concrete is visible. And then, so staff recommends approval of application IV-21-11-007, 176, and 178 Second Avenue. And that is based on that the work is generally consistent with the city code standards for alteration and standards for site improvements.
Okay, what do you?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Jacqueline said, the plan would be to add the wood and obviously completely cover the concrete. With walking around down there, seemed consistent with a lot of the designs on the porches. And then we would probably paint it consistent with the color of the house and then also adding the handrail. And the stairs would definitely be enclosed all the way around.
Okay, so you want to paint it the same color as the house or?
We're open to recommendations, but I know that, painting it potentially would be the preference, it sounds like, of certain people. So we're open to, I guess, recommendations.
Okay, let's go around the horn real quick. Dave, you want to start?
Well, I certainly wouldn't be in favor of painting the horizontal surface and the steps, the house color. Paint will wear off, it's not going to work. If they want to do it on a trim below the skirt of the staircase and finish covering the openness of the steps, that's acceptable to me. I still have a problem with this drawing that apparently where the railing is intended. I think it's too low and I need support, so across that whole span, you can't do it with a single fee. So we need you applicant to resubmit, an actual detail. We've had enough with this application, over other things where things just get done and they're not approved and they weren't to standard. So I think this needs to be continued and, would be my recommendation when we hear what the other commissioners said.
Good, Shannon?
I agree that we're gonna need to see, real drawings
Okay.
about this. I understand what you're doing. However, the concrete's gonna continue to deteriorate underneath this wood. And potentially at a rate that you're not gonna be able to see it, creating a safety hazard at some point here. This will collapse eventually, right? So I don't know if I'm in favor of allowing it to, if it's deteriorating, if it's a structural issue, it needs fixed. If it's not a structural issue, then it needs rehabbed. It doesn't, I know they're not, historic, but I don't find this to be an appropriate solution if something is a structural issue. And I know that I wasn't at the last meeting that had this, so if other commissioners have more information on that, but that's my concern. Otherwise, I think it looks fine. I agree with Commissioner Cook. I don't think it needs painted. I would just stain it, a stain, whether it's stained, but it doesn't need painted.
You realize they've gone ahead and done this. It's already sitting.
Right, but it's like wood that can be ripped right back off.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Brooke?
I don't have anything else to add other than emphasizing the details for the rail, what material it is.
Hey, Lauren?
I don't have anything else to add, just needs to be a little bit more patient for us to be able to move forward.
Yeah, sounds good. I made a comment at the business meeting and I went out and looked at these again and I stand by my assessment that it's weird. You know, that's not a very architecturally identifying terminology. I think it's a weird solution. I don't think it's terrible. I think you would have probably saved yourself money and made it a lot easier just by doing some minor rehab of those concrete steps and painting them or something like that. But I'm not against you continuing to sort of, this is like the classic lipstick on a pig, the old phrase. It's just not ever going to be right the way we're doing it, but it's also not terrible. It's just okay. So anyway, I am in favor of continuing it. We definitely have to have a full detail on the railing in particular, so we know that it's actually going to meet safety requirements with regard to proper height, materials, and all that stuff. So yeah, but if and for some reason in between now and then you decide that you'd just rather refurbish the concrete, I think I would be fine with that too. So that's kind of all we got today. Do you have any other questions for us or?
No, and the need to do it, I think initially wasn't necessarily for the deterioration, because we wouldn't, I think, just put it over if we were worried about the structure. It was more about moving the stairs on the other side so you could fit more cars back. That was essentially the reason behind it. It wasn't because it was deteriorating. We were kind of shortening up that type of thing. It's just because that space back there fits 4 cars, but it was relatively tight. So moving those on the side was the solution for that. But I can obviously appreciate everything you guys are recommending. So
Yeah, and I don't think the stairs. Okay, so you're okay with us tabling this then to come back with more information?
yeah, no problem. We can get all the specs and we can talk through it. Yep.
Or continuing it, rather, yeah, so we have a motion to continue the next regular scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll see you in a while.
Thank you.
All right. So, go back. Yeah, let's go back to 3. And number 3 is 281 Greenwood Avenue.
This would be the same applicant as number 1.
Yeah, so no one's come in for that yet? Okay, so we will skip. So 1 and 3 are still on the back burner for later. So let's go to number 4, which is 1162 Summit Street. Hello, sir. You could raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
Dominic Bruno.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, Steph.
Okay, for 1162 Summit Street, this application is a result of a code violation for work already completed. The work includes replacing existing windows on the house with double hung wood star windows, and several window openings have been downsized. So the installation of wood star windows was approved at the August meeting and an test case with the condition that the profile of the corner window trim be submitted to staff and the physical window sample and trim shadow lines be reviewed by commission subcommittee prior to issuance of a certificate. Code enforcement did contact staff regarding the downsizing of windows on August 13th. The applicant has noted that they have downsized the windows to accommodate kitchen counters as well as for safety concerns. The commission at the August business meeting noted that they were sympathetic to the safety issues, but pointed out that other methods can be done for the safety to address those concerns. The commission was not supportive of downsizing historic window openings. But as that staff look into it at site visit to determine whether the window openings were historic. The property, from staff determination, the property is a contributing structure with historic window openings having been intact. The site visit was made on October 22nd with photos included in the application materials for reference. So the rear portion and addition on which the downsized windows are located is considered historic. Now, the addition initially appears on the 1901 Sanborn map. However, the applicant has contacted staff recently, noting that the addition may have been altered or reconstructed possibly around the 1950s or 60s, based on their contractors for looking at interior work. However, that they still within that 50-year national timeline and then 40-year minimum age requirement for the rear addition to be considered a historic portion of the building. And the original windows did also match the sizing of the adjacent windows, and the paired window is consistent with the building style and era. So the staff recommendation is to retain the original window sizing and to use the commission recommendation of the interior methods such as the wall or interior bars to accommodate the safety concerns and the current interior layout. So that staff recommendation is based on the Italian Village guidelines regarding windows, in which it's noted windows are an important architectural feature and add to the character of buildings in Italian Village. And repairing and preserving the structure's original windows is preferred in lieu of removal or replacement. And that it's important to match the original size, and that under no circumstances should the original opening be made smaller or larger to accommodate the new window. That the original size of the window opening must be maintained when replacing deteriorated or missing sashes. And that altering the size of the original window openings to accommodate prefabricated replacement windows is not appropriate. That changing the original shape of the window is not appropriate, and that windows should not be eliminated to accommodate modifications to the interior floor plan, as well as the standards for alterations, specifically numbers 1, 2, 5, and 6.
Okay, so over to you.
Yeah, so I'm fine with changing them back. I just need to order them. I was talking with Brooke and Jacqueline when they were out of the property. I think what we kind of discussed was frosting the inside portion that's going to be blocked by drywall and then insulating in there. So I mean, if those windows need to be resized back, I'll just have to order them.
Or you want to start?
Was this the only window that was downsized, or are we concerned with like?
Yeah, so those two were originally broken into, and then I was planning on redoing, I just bought the house and they were broken into 2 weeks later. And so I was planning on changing out all the windows too, so I had raised those, I think 8 inches is what I raised them, and then there was, I'm getting the whole house resided with hardy board, which was approved. And so like that bottom area was just temporary for now. I'm gonna get the hardy board because it's backboard right now. They were gonna take that out and frame it in like all the rest of the windows.
Any issue if you're gonna reorder windows that are gonna match that space, it sounds. So, yeah.
Brooke, you have anything?
No, I don't have anything to add. I think that it will be important that when you resize the house, are you going to do that at the same time as the window replacement? Because I think those details will be different than what this is with certainly with this siding. that's on it. So I would just be cognizant of that the party board of the windows will be a nicer detail, and you might want to have your window guy think about that.
Okay.
Nothing to add.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So staff, do you have what you need from us? Sounds like they're gonna resize the windows as requested.
If applicant is willing to amend the application, then that's where we're good.
Okay, sounds good. So, can I have a motion on 1162 Summit?
So moved.
And that is with the agreement that the sizes of the windows as previously to the satisfaction of staff. Does that work for you?
Would be included based on the site visits or site visit notes from.
So windows resized with the original.
Yes, I think that's more important than to say what staff.
Yeah, I just didn't know, I mean, just so to the satisfaction of staff as far as the cut sheets go of the actual windows.
Yeah, so perhaps maybe, do we want any final details submitted for staff? To be submitted to staff or anything like that?
Yeah, that's, yeah,
Okay.
it's basically just the cut sheets of the windows and then that would be the right size. That matches.
But I think we don't want to lose the comment that we need to see how this paneling will address the lower sill at the bottom of the window.
I got
That's
you.
almost more important than the cut sheet for the
Staff, are
windows.
you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay,
So those trim details to be submitted to staff as part of the final materials.
yeah, or whatever, it doesn't have to be a cut sheet, just the agreement that it's the right size window at of one of the approved windows, whatever you need to do. Okay, so that's a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, thanks, appreciate it. Okay, so now, this, all this, box app is being furious with my laptop, so. Hoping things work better on the pad.
1162.
Right. That wasn't what the two, yeah, so, 233 East First. Open. Okay, if you can raise your right hands and state your names for the record.
Robert here.
Matt Negro.
And you promise to tell the truth in the testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Staff, whenever you are ready.
Okay, this application is proposing to install a patio seating and dining on East First Avenue. The application has been modified following commissioner feedback. The changes include removal of gates from either side so that the opening of doors brings people directly onto the cafe. Brick seawall to match the building brick. Black fencing used as a seat back, movable tables reduced from bar height to counter height, and pavers taken to the street curb but not on the sidewalk. So at the October business meeting, the commission noted that they appreciated the applicant incorporated changes in response to commission feedback. The commission also noted there does not appear to be any evening lighting and said they were interested to hear what might be done for evening lighting. The commission stated that lighting on either side of the door would likely be appropriate, cautioning that lighting should avoid spilling out to the sidewalk. In response to that business meeting feedback, the applicant has submitted updated information and materials regarding lighting. So staff recommends approval of application ID 21-10-015B 233 East First Avenue. With any clarifications be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate. And that recommendation is based on that the work is generally consistent with the city code standards for alteration and the city code standards for site improvements.
Well, thank you for your comment at the last business meeting and also the public meeting. We adhered to what we talked about. We took it down from bar height, which 42 inch, to more compassionate counter height. In regards to the seat wall being 24 inches, that matches the existing brick water table in the building. Third, in regards to the structure of it, I think it fits more well architecturally. I think it was spot on the comment we had for the last meeting. In regards to the lighting, we use this existing light that you can see in the upper left corner at one of the community buildings out there. Why we chose this light for this application is that Commissioner Cook mentioned we don't want extreme amount of light being flooded out into the sidewalk.
So as you can see, it has a black shield that goes around the whole thing, so 50% of the light is cast on the building itself. So it reflects back, shows the texture, and then the other amount is most of it down to it. We chose the 4 locations because now we were quite surprised I went up there, there's no lighting and the existing canopy. So we chose to put the lights on each side, I think it'll give it a classic entrance to it, especially with the papers going up to it. And then the other 2 lights will be equal flow. And then there's a sheet in here that shows the location of the seat wall lights. It's a very soft LED down light that will just give kind of like a floating appearance. Tables.
Great, Dave, you have anything on this one?
That's right.
Okay.
Good.
I think it's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Could be the fastest application that was ever brought to the table.
Hold on, I'm gonna start climbing this.
Well, we listened.
Anything to add? Yeah, like you said, we listened.
Thank you all.
Yep, looks good. Can I have a motion for approval?
I'd like to make that motion.
In a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed and abstentions? All right, great. When are you guys gonna do this? When are you gonna do it?
Hopefully we're gonna start work on the inside in Q1 of next year. So
Okay.
the hopes are summer by the beginning of summer is we'll have everything.
What's it gonna be?
It's just an update of our whole leasing office, as well
okay.
as the community center downstairs. Yeah, it's mostly all interior space.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks all.
Okay, so that gets us to, has anyone come in for 287 East Greenwood yet? Okay, let's keep on track. We are on 244 East 4th Avenue. Got 2 applications for that. 244 East 4th. So, did you get settled in? Will you raise your right hand, state your name for the record,
Eric Sherrill,
and you promise to tell the truth, the best of your ability is this afternoon?
I certainly do.
Excellent. Okay, sounds good. Well, let staff get this rolling and then we'll hear what you think. Are you going to talk just about the first one or are you going to talk about both of them?
I can do both since they are tied together.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about both number 6, number 7 on the agenda, number 6, IB-21-10-0-017B. And number 7, which is the variances for this application, IB-21-11-006. So starting with the first one, the proposal is to construct a new garage for the submitted materials and to demolish the existing shed. This is also tied to the variances, which include a lot split, a variance for section 3312.25 for maneuvering, section 3332.05A4 for area and district lot width requirements, section 3332.15 R4 area and district requirements, section 3332.18C basis of computing area, section 3332.18D to increase permitted lot coverage, section 3332.19 fronting, section 3332.26C for minimum side yard permitted, and finally, section 3332.27 for rear yard to reduce the rear yard. So at the October business meeting, the commission asked about drainage and how water will drain from the garage roof. Noting that water falling toward the garage door would not be a good solution. The commission noted that the lack of light was unusual and asked about incorporating light into the man door. Photos of the existing shed area of work should be submitted. The product specs do need to be revised to match the drawing. Currently, the product specs do show asphalt shingles, although the garage has a flat roof design. The commission previously approved the additions and alterations to the north and south buildings at the October hearing. So staff recommends approval of application IB-21-10-017B with any clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the certificate, with the condition that light be incorporated into the building for the commission's recommendations, and then the cut sheets be updated to match the drawings. And that recommendation is based on the city code standards for new construction.
We have for us today.
There's a gutter on the above the doors. It's shown on the drawings, the elevation there. There's also the gooseneck lights and the sconce right next to the man doors. So I'm not sure what the comment about the lack of light was, but we can discuss that. The materials are, I mean, it's vertical siding on the garage and EPDM roof. I can submit a cut sheet for the rubber roof. I didn't think that was typically something that was needed, but
Would be accurate, so that we don't like have the, shingles, especially once not would be frequent on the.
yeah, I mean, I think that was partly a miscommunication because the three buildings are kind of all submitted together, so this was not tailored to this particular portion of that project, but I can do that. I think that's all for my portion of this part.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody want to dive in on this one?
So the gutter is over the elevation of where the two garage doors are, and then it's just dumping out, spewing out either of the ends. Where in your drawing shows?
It's on that whole thing.
I mean, it'll have a downspout on one end or the other that'll drain to the surface, and we'll have to deal with the water, on the surface and the dry area.
So in the motion, we'll say that staff is requesting that things be updated and accurate. I would say then we would need to see that the drain spout is there. If you look at the site plan, it should probably not flow to should flow to the west side rather than the east side. That's one. I noticed you have the one man door swings out. Wouldn't you want the other one to swing out also if you pull a car in? The length of that, if you get out on the driver's side, are you going to be able to?
Yeah,
So I would recommend that front for the man door at the top be changed so it swings out to match the other one. Else you're going to get out of your car, you're going to kind of come around, you got to pull the car, the door open, it's probably touching the front bumper.
there's actually a downspout shown on the on A31. It's hard to see because it's all vertical siding, but you can see it also in D. Towards the back, it's kind of covered up by the light, but
I see where you're talking about it now. At this scale that we're working with,
it's fine.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, other comments? Anything else? Anybody? Okay.
I'm sorry, I just want to, I think the word light, I got misconstrued. Maybe do you realize that these are solid doors, so once you're in it, there's no natural light. Usually a lot of our garage doors do have a window in the man door.
Yeah, that's what the discussion is. If they're going there.
Okay, just break it up.
Okay, can I have a motion on this one? Well, actually, we need two motions. We need a motion for approval on number 6, which is constructing a garage for similar materials, and then we need a separate motion to variances on number 7.
So I'll make the motion for number 6 with the understanding that the applicant needs to update any material or details discussed in the meeting.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye, opposed, and abstentions, motion carries. And then I need a motion to recommend the variances.
I will make that motion for 244 East Fourth.
Okay, sounds good, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
opposed, and abstentions? Okay, that one carries as well. All right, great. Good. Are you back again later or are you down?
I believe oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm back again later.
think it's number
Number
15.
two, yeah. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I just keep chugging on the order of the agenda. We need to examine chugging. Keep chugging. All right. So number 9, no, number 8, sorry. 4753 East First. Sir, whenever you're ready, if you could state your, raise your right hand, state your name for the record.
Read Amber?
And you promise to tell the truth and best of your ability in your testimony this afternoon.
I do.
Excellent. Okay, over to staff.
This application is proposing new construction, lot split combination, and a lot split combination recommendation. The proposal is to construct a 2-unit townhouse building. The height will be 31 feet to the maximum peak. The proposed design will require a lot split and combination from 47 and 53 East First Avenue. The existing structures on East First Avenue will remain. The two dwelling units would have 2 bedrooms and bathrooms, 2 private garages accessed from the proposed private drive, as well as 4 surface parking spaces. So at the October business meeting, the commission noted that they appreciated that the parking issue appears to have been solved. The commission noted that they would be interested to talk more about the panel pieces shown in the windows at the regular meeting. Some commissioners felt the proposed building is still too large and the roof deck overly massive, suggesting the top portion of the building be pushed back. The commissioners noted they will need to continue to take a further look given the major changes that have occurred to the design. So in response to the business meeting feedback, the applicant has submitted revised drawings and renderings. The changes include a scaled back upper story, changes to fenestration at the upper story and east and west elevations, changes to the hardy siding configuration at the upper story, the addition of brick lintels and brick detailing, and light fixtures at the north elevation. So staff recommends approval of application ID-21-09-020 4753 East First Avenue, with any clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the certificate. And that recommendation is based on that the proposal is generally consistent with the city code standards for new construction.
Okay, over to you.
Great, yeah, that was a wonderful introduction. I don't have too much to add there. As staff mentioned, we scaled back the upper floor and were able to incorporate parking in there as well. That was a major issue at the last meeting as to avoid taking existing parking. So we'll be working with City Clumps to get that easement recorded so it can cross property lines, but happy to do that. Other than that, yeah, not much to add there.
Okay, sounds good. Who wants to start? Shannon, you start with them.
I'm definitely happy with the site plan that we've going on now, and the architecture to me looks good. I wasn't at the business meeting, or I wasn't at the meeting last month, so I can only see the prior rendering at the back of this application, but it does look like an improvement, and I like the setback, so.
Good, Brooke.
I think this is nice. Now, thank you. I think you did a really good job of listening to previous comments. And it looks like personally, the scale of it is a little big for me, but I appreciate the design of it and it's, you know, very nice.
Lauren?
I appreciate that you included last meeting's submission because it's easier to like go back and see exactly what was changed. So I'm glad that you listened to us and we kind of picked a style more or less and went towards that. I guess the primary elevation, the windows still feel a little strange to you. Maybe that's what they were talking about at the business meeting. About what you were doing between them. Is that what was said?
Yeah, there were questions about the paneling incorporated within the windows.
Okay, well, yeah, what are you using?
Says hard.
Hmm?
Says hard to play.
Good explain though, yeah, I think that's a good question, Laura, just to get a little more explanation how that works.
Great, yeah, so initially, I believe it was on the east and west facing elevations. There was too much paneling and that did cause quite a bit of window space as well. So we looked around at some design cues and certainly scaled back that paneling to your guys' recommendation. And in that, that was able to allow us to reduce the amount of windows all around to provide a better balance, I believe. So that was a good suggestion that I believe we incorporated.
Laura, which side are you looking at? Because I'm having trouble figuring out the sort of quote unquote, I don't know if back or front is the right word, the south elevation. Is there an elevation of that in the packet? I see a couple renderings that look like they're the north elevation.
There's a south elevation.
Is there?
On page 6.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I meant, is there a rendering of it? Do you guys see it there?
There is not.
Okay.
I don't mind the south elevation. Letting in so much light, really.
So now that you brought up that party board, paneling, I'm a little concerned about that being the only party board on a brick building. I think a different material might be a little bit more appropriate there. We've also just, those large panels of hardy, I feel like we approved some of them kind of pre-COVID, it got constructed and the look isn't great. It can look like painted cardboard if we're not careful. So that actually is one of my new comments, sorry.
Now, are you saying this, the general use of hardy board, is it the south elevation? Is there a certain elevation we could address?
I think on the north elevation, below the wind, basically, in between the windows and the garage door openings and the door openings, right? It isn't that hardy board.
I believe so.
Yeah, so, I mean, typically we see like a metal of some sort used if you want a panel or, different color brick, yeah.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
No, that's okay.
I do-
Can we go
All right,
to,
hold on. Laura, you got one.
sorry. I know that we're not approving landscaping or anything right now, but I just want to know if you do plan on having those trees on the east elevation. Just because I think it really kind of fills out the space in front of the building, where you have just so much brick.
So you're asking if we intend on having those proposed streets?
Correct.
If that's, yeah, we do plan on having them.
you go to the rendering, I have two comments. Excuse me for standing for it, but first one is this negative, uninviting, really negative area in the front entrance doorway. And that would be a place that we should not use hardy plank, and just doesn't have a sense it has an important front door. It almost looks like a back door, a mechanical door. Would be my first concern. And the second one is you're indicating some sort of architectural detailing in the grid at the top. But in our village, those are usually dimensional. There's a cap. If you think of the Virginian on Summit, you can drive by numerous buildings which would have this long profile, but at the top, the cornice comes out as an edge, not just a sharp box. And I think that would be important to keep the residential scale and connection to that, so that both of those should be thicker, and the space in between even that needs to come out more on that. Okay. So what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of positive things. We're really close to the home stretch, but we want to see a detail for addressing those front entrances, not as negative spaces, but as positive spaces. The cornice would be recommended on the bottom of the lower box, which will help set the other one back further. And then discussing a third material other than hardy plank for all of this paneling. You might look on the south elevation, realizing that this essentially backs up to the new development next door. You could almost brick the bottom down there so that it would be a more finished bottom section for the neighbors, that type of thing, rather than just all these big sheets of, hardy plank.
I have one more thing to add, sorry.
Sure.
I did not realize that the second story was all also the hardy paneling.
Yeah, that full box.
Yeah, so basically, almost no hardy would probably be preferable when we're dealing with a brick structure.
Okay, would you prefer metal panels?
Yeah, some of the metal that
We
is.
really want to see the corner detail of how those metal panels are going to
Sure,
fit
yeah.
together, because that's where a lot of the oil can problems have happened.
Yeah.
I think that was preferable.
Do you see any sort of drain pipes anywhere on these? How are we getting the water off roofs? Especially on the patios, the two ends.
Yeah, so if you could, think about that, you're probably gonna have to have some openers. Is there a cover? Oh, I see it. Yeah, I do see it now. Okay, other thoughts? I'll just add, yeah, I think this is, I think we're really close. I think the site plan's completely working. I think removing the end pieces on the upper portion is working great. I think, based on what's next to it, I think the scale is very appropriate. It's obviously bigger than what's on first, but, I feel like it's a transition based on the fact that it's really more of 2 stories with this sort of cap piece in the middle. But I think we got everything right on that. Just, it looks like we need a couple more things in architectural details to feel comfortable to move forward. Are you okay with us one last time tabling this?
Sure, if the site plan is, something that we can all generally agree on.
Yep.
With having to do a lot split and now record an easement variances, if you guys would be amenable to at least approving the lot split for us to get started, that would help us out tremendously.
I think that's possible. I don't know, Stack, what do you think?
Yeah, and it's included in the application, so the commission feels comfortable.
I'm okay doing it based on the site plan that's been.
I think the applicant has worked with us, what we asked for, and explained the reason, not
Yeah.
to be unreasonable, we're not doing any subtraction and taking parking spaces away. We given more distance from the original historic buildings to the new one, et cetera. I think in good faith, we should approve it for the lot split.
Will you make that motion?
I will.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in
You
favor?
want to split the application?
Yeah, so let's do that as A, if that's okay?
For the lot split, we can only make a recommendation.
Yeah, so we're recommending that lot split based on the site plan that's been submitted, and we have a motion, and did I have a second? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, great, I seconded it. And so on, I guess it would be, what the heck is this number?
4753 East First.
Okay, but the thing is, ID 2109-020A, all in favor, which is the lot split. Aye. All opposed? And,
And the comment on the recommendation should be that the applicant has provided us a tentative site plan for the use of the split lot.
Yep, absolutely. I'm sorry, were there any abstention? Nope, okay. So that one carries, and then do I have a motion to table IV 21-09020B, which would be the approval of the remainder?
I think we're just continuing.
Continue, yeah, I'm sorry. I keep saying table, continue. Depends on the voice, yeah. So continuing? Okay, that's the motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And abstentions? Okay, so that one's continued. Thank you very much, and good luck with the lot split.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so that brings us to number 10. Same as for anything before that. Okay, 1163 Say Avenue. If you both would raise your right hand to state your names for the record.
Jeremiah Campion.
And you promise to approve the best of your ability in your testimony, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go over to staff and then we'll get to you.
For 1163 Say Avenue, a code violation has been issued for work already completed. The proposal is to replace and install 4-foot high wood fence with black aluminum fencing for the submitted materials. The new fencing is to be 138 feet long and 3 feet high. At the October business meeting, some commissioners noted the standard for iron fencing is to use cast iron or steel, and that if the fencing material was changed to steel, the commission would be okay with staff approval of the application. The commission noted the proposed fence looks in general to be an improvement over the existing installed fencing. In response to the business meeting feedback, the applicant has stated that their company only installs aluminum fencing. Staff recommends approval of application IB-21-11-008, 1163 State Avenue, with any clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate. That recommendation is based on that the work is generally consistent with the city code standards for site improvements.
Okay, thanks. All right, over to you.
So we originally put the request in because there was a code violation with the current fence. We're owners of the home, but that fence was put there previously. So this was a request to make those improvements, take that fence down. I've also seen several areas in Italian Village, at least 17, that have aluminum fencing. That looks exactly like what we're proposing. So I don't understand why we wouldn't be able to put that up.
Most of those we didn't approve,
Okay.
and that's the reason. And we've seen those not hold up as well as the metal, keeping in the historic district, where to recommend when we put things in, we use the materials that are familiar to the area. So I'm sorry, that's something we're very strong.
Yeah, let's let him finish up this.
Okay, so we would be responsible for the maintenance of the fence either way. With all the people that have put up the aluminum fencing, are you gonna find them and tell them they have to take that down?
So the code enforcement is what we call reporting-based process. So if someone sees it, reports the code, the commission doesn't go out and cite people. So it's a complaint-based process, and it can be anonymous, and people can submit either through phone call or line, but it's something that has to be complaint-driven.
We also are, if we do not get approved, are in danger of losing the deposit that we placed down, so that would also hinder our ability to be able to tear down that wooden fence. Now, the wooden fence, when I originally submitted the first application, was told that we couldn't keep that because it would set a precedent that to approve other wooden fences like it if we were to approve ours. So I guess I'm failing to understand what the logic holds. Other places in the tiny village have that aluminum fencing, all of a sudden we wouldn't be able to have what they already have.
Yeah, okay, well, let's, David, do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm not going to get in an argument with the applicant. I think we've stated the issue that many people have done things on their own and haven't come before the commission, and that's the story. The fact.
So we'll go around just, real quickly. I am very sympathetic to the fact that they were trying to remedy an inherited fence. I get what you're saying, David. I could completely understand that. I will reiterate that I do think that this is a little bit of a different site than we are typically seeing. You sort of have this double length exposure that is not just not what we're usually seeing. These houses, unless I'm misunderstanding this. And yeah, a lot of, and I get it. I wish everything was wrought iron or whatever else it could be. At the same time, I feel it's a little different than the length of a fence in front of an individual house, which is what we're usually seeing. It's quite a length. So I'm less concerned about it. I'm very interested in a replacement that changes the look on that street, and I think it would be beneficial in that regard. So that's where I am. Let's see what everybody else says.
I just don't want to deal with the precedence issue where we have to start approving aluminum fences. So I just can't see how, like, we have folks like you come before us all the time, when they can put in iron fences. I can't, it just, everything we do is based off of precedent. And so while I'm also sympathetic, I cannot be in support of the aluminum fence.
Brooke, what do you have to say?
I have really nothing to add. I think Commissioner Fergus stated everything that I think is accurate. It's too bad. I think that it is a precedent issue.
Lauren?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have nothing that you're gonna want to hear to add, so.
Yeah, so I guess, kind of going back to you guys, is there, I don't know if there's another, option. I don't know if anybody here will be, I'm just trying to understand exactly where the fence goes. Because this 98-foot run is pretty intense. That's pretty, and I believe that goes, does that go back on your site?
What we really need is a site plan that is to scale, showing where it connects and how it connects.
Yeah, hold on, let me look at this thing on. Google Maps refresh, just so I understand. So the, street view. Sorry, give me 1 second. So slow today. So where's the 100-foot section? Is it running parallel back from the street frontage? That's what I'm trying to understand. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. I didn't see that. So, just as a matter of discussion, and I don't know, maybe this is not started with the commission as well. Is there something that makes sense to us that puts a steel fence in the front portion that runs everywhere in front of the house and not the 100-foot on the side? Or is there a different material they could use that's completely different, wood or something like that?
Yeah, I didn't realize we're putting aluminum all the way back there. So like typically what we do is, which you can see in many houses in the village is, there's a turnaround of the iron to a certain point, and then you can do like a wood privacy or something in the back. So I would certainly suggest that. I wouldn't jump from wood, the iron to aluminum might look weird,
Right.
but, yeah, I don't think you need to put iron all the way going back. It needs to be in the front section and make that turn until it's appropriate to kind of put that side gate.
Which should be a lot less. That's.
Yes, I mean, I literally just had to replace my fence and it was less than $2,000 for an iron fence for that exact size. So
Gotcha.
it's not.
Okay, so now would that be more amenable to you as far as if you could split it and do iron in the front portion and then a different material, which could be aluminum or it could be wood, could be.
I think we could do that. Our main concern was we put a deposit down as well, so we lose the deposit because the company doesn't carry anything else besides aluminum.
Really tough to get some contractors out in a timely fashion these days.
I hear you. So, I mean, maybe, if you're already considering doing aluminum whole thing, maybe you consider doing something from the back portion in a different material.
Right.
I just think it's not what the typical front fence that we're talking about, which I agree is that's the part we really want to see.
Yeah.
Just say one next to me where I live, it looks awesome, somebody just put it in. So would that be more amenable to you, David?
I think it's fine, but I don't want to just throw something out without seeing the plan.
Oh, yeah.
The
No,
applicant needs to do.
Sure.
Bring in, and they need to be aware that we don't allow 6-foot fences to come up to or past the front of the house from the street. So
Yeah,
if
I
you
gotcha.
can't run down that whole line, couldn't be a wood fence.
Additionally, did you inherit this code violation?
Yes.
We did.
I mean, so are you in contact with, and I mean, typically you can have some type of remedy coming from the previous owner if they did not disclose that there was a code violation.
We have reached out to our realtor about it.
And the previous owner not her bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would pursue action in that way, for any financial.
Right.
So, are you okay then? We could continue, what are you saying? We could continue it. Obviously that suspends your code violation and then you could look into opportunities to have a different type of fence in the rear and look at opportunities. It may have to be a different contractor to do, in the front, but hopefully they'll balance itself out.
You're saying we could run steel on the front and then wood down the side?
Correct. Yeah, and you just work with staff if you have questions about that.
I've definitely put a pause on getting deposits before approval, so if there's any way you get an idea of what it would look like before that, so we don't want to put it in.
Yeah, don't put any more deposits on this year too.
The problem is because they did the original submittal for that.
Yeah.
They won't do that without it. So.
Yeah, I get you.
But like Fortin, I mean, I think there might be another iron fence provider other than
Yeah.
Fortin, but maybe not. But they'll do your drawings without you
Right.
need deposit.
Okay, cool. So can I have a mo, do you have any other questions for us?
So moved
Okay,
to
and
continue.
to continue, do you have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, well, good luck. And then, yeah, work with staff and they should be able to get it figured out for you where you can do the break and all that stuff. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, going on to 11.
983.
Yes, 983 North Sixth Street, please. You never had anybody come in for those first couple?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Will you please raise your hand, state your name for the record?
Josh Mansinger.
Great, and do you promise to tell the truth to the best of your ability in your testimony this afternoon?
I do.
Fine. So staff, whenever you're ready.
Okay, this application is proposing to replace wood porch flooring, railing, column rack, porch skirting, to replace any damaged or rotted substrate, to install TimberTech composite decking and TimberTech radiance rail railing, to replace the existing porch flooring and railing, to install prime floral true exterior trim, to replace the existing trim. Profiles and nominal thickness are to match existing, and to install prime floral true exterior be rustic siding as the porch skirting. To paint the floral true exterior products with Sherwin-Williams Resilience satin exterior paint with 2 coats. So at the October business meeting, some commissioners noted they would be supportive of using composite for the horizontal step surfaces or decking due to the typical wear and deterioration those areas receive, as long as everything else remained like for like. But the commission requested photos showing the deterioration be submitted, noting some deterioration is apparent in the photo showing a tape measure, but not apparent for the other portions of the porch, including the railing, the columns, and porch flooring, all of which did not appear to require full-scale replacement. The applicant has submitted some additional photos showing deterioration. So staff recommends the porch features be repaired and replaced in kind as needed following the city code 3116.11 standards for alteration. Specifically number 5, in which distinctive stylistic features and examples of craftsmanship that characterize the property shall be treated with sensitivity. And number 6, deteriorated architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced whenever possible. In the event replacement is necessary, the new material shall match the material being replaced in composition, design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. Repair or replacement of missing architectural features shall be based on accurate locations of features substantiated by historic, physical, or pictorial evidence rather than architectural designs or the availability of different architectural elements of other structures. And that exterior cladding and structure shall be consistent with the original materials used on the property.
Yeah, so the main concern with the homeowner is that over a period of 11 years, there's been replacement 3 times. So essentially fast growth wood, I mean, the house was built in 2002. So even priming fast growth wood, he's experienced this issue multiple times. We proposed boral true exterior because our company's used it multiple times and have had it approved various instances in Italian Village, Vic Village. So for the actual cladding, the nominal thicknesses that are produced can be replicated. I guess where there would be a little bit of a difference, the porch flooring, it's a 3-inch tongue and groove. So TimberTech, of course, doesn't make a 3-inch tongue and groove. Really, the only option there is either a composite or a natural wood. Having the natural wood, again, 3 times over 11 years is the main concern. But that's
I have a quick question.
Yeah, please.
If I know if the applicant works at my firm, do I need to abstain?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Brooke, you want to start since there's some architectural elements here, maybe some expertise?
I appreciate the fact that he's had to, I understand, I feel sorry about that, but I think that maybe the type of wood that's been used 3 times in the last 11 years is not a type of wood that is really suitable for this application. So in my mind, I stand by the use of wood in replicating the details that are there. I do think I would be okay with the composite for the porch decking and stair treads. But I think the rest of it should be
wood in my mind.
Right.
So you mentioned that you had this approved before in Italian Village. Was it front porch businesses?
No, it wasn't. It was for Boral True exterior siding and then using the trim for fascia in place of using.
Okay, was any of it ever on the primary elevation or was it all alternative?
No, we have used it.
Okay. When we talk about precedence, I think that's a really big one.
Is it more for concern of appearance or is it more for concern of material?
I don't know what it looks like, honestly.
Okay.
What the Boral True exterior trim looks like. I have to go with what the commission says, but that as far as like we use wood.
Sure, but no,
Especially on,
we have a wood shop, so we use it every single day.
and especially on for historic buildings on the primary facade. That's like the these.
Sure.
That's the one that
Such
if it was a back porch, you might have a bit more damage.
Would you take into account the, like, for example, most of the homes on this street were built past 2000, and a lot of the structures may have more of a modern appearance as opposed to
This particular one was though, right?
this house was built in 2002. In terms of the Boral True exterior, so it actually does have a smooth surface that is similar to pine. Essentially, Boral was produced to, I guess, be a more of a easier installation than James Hardy. So I know James Hardy, obviously, there's a lot of contention using it in historic districts just because inaccurate installation creates failure. With the Boral True exterior, the way it's designed, it doesn't hold water, so it actually can be run below grade. If that makes a difference, but in terms of having to do continuous repairs, it would have the appearance of natural wood. It's essentially a fly ash, so it's a 70% post-consumer recycled material, so it's natural material. So it does fill the quotient of natural material. It's just, I know that the hard one is wood. Because in terms of appearance, if we'd use, and I agree, I mean, we could use a product like Polonia, like we use Polonia frequently when it's available. I use sassafras in place of pine, and of course cedar is really good use in place of pine. But just kind of the way the porch was designed, I can't speak to what the previous material was. I'm assuming that the porch floor, because it's a 3-inch tongue group, typically it's most of the wood here is purchased at Fifth Avenue, where it's purchased at Jones Lumber. Yes, could we do cedar? Could we potentially have the same result, even because it is a sapwood? We could potentially have the same result. That's really the reason, but I don't debate that wood in pretty much every instance is what we should use. We're just posing it more as, if, knowing what we know, there's a pretty good propensity that this is going to fail again.
Let's see what David has to say.
The business meeting, I was in favor of the composition material to be for the horizontal, which is the deck and the stair tread, but not the rest of it anywhere else using it. My recommendation is that lattice in the bottom might not need to touch the ground the way that we see in a couple of the pictures, or maybe it's the owner has built dirt up. Basically, wood is sitting in the ground.
Yeah, and it's mainly for essentially, to deter pests. And that would be an instance where if we used, I'm sure the homeowner and myself, I wouldn't be opposed to using natural wood there in the instance that we could have some relief from the ground in terms of like a skirt board, like the lattice is attached directly to the band board at the dirt. But that would be a great instance to use like Boral 2x and attach the lattice at the base of that, give it a little relief, even like 4-inch or 5-inch relief ground. Typically, you're going to have a lower propensity for the wood to fail.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like we have a couple options here. Obviously there are a lot of porches in Italian Village made out of wood. So I'm still a little unclear why this one keeps failing. I'm not quite understanding why this is unique to that circumstance. most porches are not getting replaced 3 times in 11 years, and most porches are made out of wood, so.
Agreed.
I don't understand that really.
No, I
That being,
agree.
that being said, so there's 3 things. One, it sounds like generally we're okay with the horizontal surfaces being some sort of composite. The question is whether or not, because this is a newer house, we would entertain that notion with this material that we're less familiar with in order to see, or do we just think that is not even something we should be contemplating? What are your thoughts?
I would appreciate the staff in a preservation district.
Yes, this one, just through a loop and finding out that it's built in 2002. And we wanted to be consistent being in a historic neighborhood. So for me, right now, I'm hearing the commission using the horizontal surfaces only because this is built in the modern. Doesn't give me too much heartburn. I won't sleep.
Fair enough. But you think the rest of the surfaces, the rest of the elements, you think still, based on the fact that it was originally wood, even though it's in your house, should continue to be in that vein that you're insinuating?
Just thinking of whether this should be consistent, but recognizing that it's a newer property. And could go either way on this, just because I don't want to come up. So I have to pontificate. So I think you want to make a decision either way with the fact that it is a new build. Otherwise, if this was an historical, 100%, yeah, it'd be pretty fair.
Well, I mean, if the other commissioners were willing to, I'd be willing to essentially try to see what this material ends up like. That being said,
Like a test case?
yeah, like a test case. But that being said, I also will side with the commission if you just feel that's not appropriate, you're just too uncomfortable with that. So I'm kind of in the middle. I don't know, Brooke, what do you think?
I wouldn't do it. I think they're opening this up to, doing a repeat.
Sure, sure.
I do agree though, that the horizontal surfaces could be the composite and maybe frankly, I think maybe some of the details are what, the way this thing's been put together is what's.
I don't disagree with that.
The wood, deterioration. So,
I mean,
you know,
yeah.
I think that there could be some improvement on that, and I'm sure that, you know, when you do replace this, that you will make those improvements, so it doesn't happen a fourth time. And maybe there's detail for this, skirting where you use a composite that's close to the ground and then raise the, lattice up away from it. Maybe that would solve it. But I think the rest of it should still remain wood.
Well, I think we kind of have a general consensus, and I mean, obviously, I don't know your work, but it sounds like you have a fairly robust knowledge of the way these things work, so we're hoping that
May
you'll
I?
be able to improve on the design, yeah.
So the house right next to Seven Sun Brewery, my firm, actually myself personally, we did I don't even know what to call it. Essentially, we preserved the original 150-year-old wood siding.
Yeah, sure.
Personally, in any instance that we can use natural wood, and I mean, I push natural wood because I have a wood shop in Franklinton, I want to use natural wood. So I don't disagree. The reason we pose this product, I guess I toe the line because I'm also the contractor that got EcoStar synthetic slate approved as a test case for German Village. So I also understand that even though my firm will follow the guidelines explicitly, if you do open the door to a product like Floral, you may have to open the door to a product like Healthy Smart Site or something that may not be engineered as well. So I don't disagree.
Would you be willing to modify the application to just have horizontal surfaces as composite and rest wood?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would we have a
Do
solution?
ask potentially also that lower band on the skirt.
We'll make that
Is that
part of the motion.
included?
I don't know. Actually, it's a good question.
Seeing that.
I think it just raise lattice so that it isn't sitting on the ground.
Yeah, I guess I'm flexible on that. Whatever. The motion, whoever wants to make. the
Okay,
motion.
I will make that motion that we that we approve the replacement. The composite material may be used on horizontal surfaces, parentheses, deck and step treads. That the lattice is to be held off of, not touching the ground, but will be wood. And if we approve the paint colors and the two coats.
Agree with that?
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a second?
Pleasure.
Okay, real quick, we got a second, and all in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Okay, great, thank you very much, appreciate it. All right, now we're moving on to number 12, which is 850 North High Street.
Hi,
Will you please raise your right hand, state your name for the record?
Michelle Applebaum.
And you promise to tell the truth, the best of your ability in your testimony this evening.
Yes.
Good, great, we'll have staff first.
Good, my friend.
Oh, yeah, shoot, you gotta stand back.
She's in.
She's in, she's back. Okay. All right, staff, whenever you're ready, you can go way back.
And this application is proposing to install a new sign with blue illuminated channel letters. The sign would be around 2 inches deep with a high density urethane HDU for logo letters. It would have a white aluminum composite material for backer and white LEDs for illumination. So at the October business meeting, the commission noted that drilling or cutting into the stone or facade should be avoided, particularly as tenants will change, leaving holes in the material. And the commission requested additional details of how the signage will be installed and electricity routed. So staff recommends approval of application of IV-21-10-014 68698 North High Street with any and all clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the certificate, with the condition that no damage or drilling occurs to the masonry. And that is based on the city code standards for new construction, then the standards for alteration that the work is generally consistent with, as well as the short-term design guidelines.
Over to you.
Sorry?
Over to you for whatever you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the signage is pretty straightforward, so there's not, we made sure that we abided by the dimensions that are allowed with the Short North guidelines, halo lighting, which I know is a preference. So we really tried to stay within all the guidelines that are stipulated. So I understand the concern about the drilling into the stone. The landlord approved the sign, Schiff Properties. He didn't have a problem with it. So I don't know. I don't know how to do signage without some kind of drilling in there. So,
I'm the one that raised it during the business meeting because from the photographs, it appears that's all stone. I walked the property day before yesterday, and that's actually a drive-it form of it. It is not a real piece of stonework. It is a concrete composition material, so it could be plugged. Our concern, Michelle, is that often many of the retail tenants will not stay in place, and so our architecture has been damage through signage if they leave, and that sign doesn't stay there. So how many holes will you be drilling in order to get this sign up?
with this sign, it would be approximately 4 holes per letter.
That's what concerns me. That's really good, really good. Is there a Bain carrier?
An alternative? Sorry, are you asking, is there an alternative? What we could do is we could put a pan, about a 1-inch deep pan behind the whole thing. It'd be about 14 inches high. We could paint the pan to match the color of the back, so it, blend in. And that would reduce the number of the holes down to about 8 to 10 total. Other than that, I don't think we can get it any less than that because there's, electric involved.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think that pan needs to be the same color necessarily. It could also be an accenting color that could be part of the overall sign, in my opinion, but maybe others feel differently. I think it's probably a better solution. That being said, I did start to get suspicious after that meeting because I was like, how is this thing still in that good a shape? If somebody wants to put a sign, so I looked out there too, and yeah, it's a form, so I think it could probably be repaired pretty close, regardless of the whole, which I think has already happened. So those are my thoughts, Shannon.
My thought is that the pan sounds like a good solution, and I agree with Commissioner Sudi that it could be an accent color, or paint it to fade away.
I think it is a good idea too. Will probably help you manage the electricity too, instead of, I don't understand how you're getting power to individual letters in this case, so that might help with that as well. Good idea.
Lauren,
I mean, yes.
so what are your thoughts?
I mean, if we need to do the pan, that's fine. It's a fair compromise. So it's not going to affect the aesthetics of the sign too much. So I think that's fair.
From the perspective of the commission, do we want that to be the same color as the thing, knowing it won't exactly do, but be close? Or do we prefer that it be a different color? What do we care? I'm neutral. I could go completely neutral.
I'm going to recommend a pan and try to take it, minimize its appearance. I appreciate what you're saying about the color bar, but then all of a sudden that becomes the total square footage shape, which may start exceeding the guidelines for the massiveness of the sign. Where if they treat the pan as if it's more back to the architecture and only holds the length of the letters, it will help you with the scale of that.
Okay, that's okay with you?
And because this client is moving pretty quickly to get in here, I would like to make the motion that this was approved tonight, pending the applicant providing staff the detail of the pan for the records.
Sounds good to me. Any second on that one?
Second,
Great. I think what you got is a second, it's a tie between Shannon and Brooke. So
whoever you like.
staff gets to pick.
7 seconds.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstention? Great, motion carried. Thanks.
Now, Michelle, one other favor of you, please, before you leave, will you tell us how do you pronounce this, or how are they saying this?
It's Myeonggrang.
Say it one more time.
Myeonggrang. It's a Korean style corn dog. I've never had it, but
Sounds delicious.
that's what I know.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 1112 North Park. Next one. Hello. Get settled in there. If you could raise your right hand, state your name for the record.
Cheryl Frizell,
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this evening.
I do.
Great, thank you very much. And staff, whenever you are ready.
This application is proposing to install a new blade sign. This would be anchored with a 48-inch long bracket into the brick. You can install an EDC sign to the blade sign. The blade sign would be 46 inches by 35 inches or 11.18 square feet. There are some outstanding code violations associated with the property, including exterior light fixtures, outdoor speakers, heaters, flag brackets, security cameras, and a banner. At the October business meeting, the commission noted that the cold beer, cold drinks, and live music would be considered as advertising products and therefore not appropriate. The commission asked about new lighting that would replace the existing fixtures and noted that any new lighting should be included as part of the signage application. The applicant has noted that they do not want to add new lighting at this time, and that they have also submitted an updated signage removing the cold beer or cold drinks and live music. So staff recommends continuing the application ID-21-11-011 to allow the applicant time to revise the application or address any outstanding code violations, and also have the condition of avoiding drilling into the historic brick. The basis for the staff recommendation is the short north signage general guidelines 3.37, noting that logos identifying the primary business may be integrated as text within signs. However, logos advertising individual products apart from the primary business are not supported. That proposed to phrase advertising goods and related services more appropriate for window signs, but not in the building zone residential uses or uses. Signage has often been mounted on a stone lintel between the first and second story, and signage should not obscure any architectural elements, and the installation of the sign must be reversible and cannot permanently alter or damage historic building materials, as well as the standards of alteration, specifically numbers 2 and 5.
Over to you, please.
So we spoke to the client and altered the artwork to remove the cold beer and live music. And the client does not want to have lighting on the new sign. So they are taking that down. Actually, the electric and the existing lighting that was there before is not even active.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, they are going to take down those lights?
Yeah, they do not want the lights on the sign. And we explained to them if they wanted to add lighting later, that would require a permit if they chose to do that. But they assured us that there was not going to be lighting on the sign. And we spoke to them about the outstanding code violations. And they assured us that they have cleared all those violations and worked through their architect. And the banner, I guess, was up just until they could get the sign up.
Okay. Shall we scooch around, David? I know you had some of the primary comments at the business meeting. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, they've addressed those, so that the sign face graphics to me is acceptable. I want to make sure that the motion says that the applicant will remove the unapproved existing lighting, speakers, et cetera, conditioned to the approval of this.
Sure.
Cheryl, this isn't your problem, but it is a recurring problem over many years where this applicant
Okay,
seems to do things and then asks if he can do it.
got it.
Frankly, I think we're all getting pretty annoyed with it, so.
Yeah, they're a new client to me, so I explained to them, like, I cannot do anything until these violations are handled.
And again,
And
the whole thing will be conditioned that contraption of lighting that got installed unapproved is removed.
yeah, they did assure us that that would happen. Because I went back to them and said, if you're going to put lighting, we have to file it now. And they explained that they were not.
So to help move things forward, I think that we could approve this tonight as long as we put in the motion that all the code violations need to be corrected that have been. Specifically, the removal of the lighting, that's relevant to the signage, and then we want to condition the other things, the speakers removed and approved.
Yeah, because that current light fixture really is going to be in the way for me to put my sign up. So,
Let's get it out.
yes, ugly.
We got like you're ripping it out of the wall.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you.
I agree with all Commissioner Cook's comments.
okay,
So
good.
let's,
What
I
do
will,
you feel about the installation into the break?
Yeah, they show, if you guys take a look at page 3 of the application, they've got a tail right there. So I think we need to discuss that really quickly. Typically, we require that that they're in the mortar of the wall of this building, which doesn't be considered contributing structure. So you may have to modify the edge of that bracket to a certain degree, but we're going to want those just to be in the mortar.
That's fine. That's just an illustration, but when we install it, we can definitely, and I can modify the artwork to show that, but
That'd be great.
we'll definitely go into the mortar, because I mean, we understand it has to be put back the way we found it.
Okay, great. Ready to make that motion?
I will make that motion, which is to approve this revised sign graphic to remove, conditioned on removing the existing lighting that we not approved, and that the applicant will anchor the sign bracket into mortar rather than masonry.
Got there all set?
Yes.
Great. Do we have a second? And all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, great. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Okay, oh, we have another sign, all signed. Okay. This is 886 North High Street. Hello. If you get settled there, you would raise your right hand, state your name for the record,
Jim Hartley with Sign Power.
and you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this evening.
I do.
Okay, great. So staff will give us an update.
Okay, this application is proposing to install a new double-faced blade sign. You see the existing brackets from the previously approved Serendipity projection sign at the site. The new sign is going to have LED illumination channel letters per the submitted materials. At the October business meeting, the commission noted the previous Serendipity sign was approved on the basis that its design was incorporated as part of the design of the building. The signage was viewed as a piece of sculpture that worked with the red swirl wrap on the building and referred to an upstairs tenant. The commission noted new signage as proposed would not be appropriate. The commission asked if the red swirl wrap will be retained or removed, and asked if the signage could be retained and letters changed to retain the art style piece. In response to the business meeting feedback, the applicant has submitted an updated design and confirmed that the red swirl wrap was previously removed as a condition of the lease when vacated. The approval for the previous signage does note that future tenants will be required to use traditional signage. So staff recommends continuing application IB-21-11-012 to allow the applicant time to revise the application. And that recommendation is based on the short north design guidelines for signage, general guidelines, noting that pedestrian-oriented signage is preferred with projecting signs the first preference, and wall signs the second preference. Audience-oriented signage is generally not appropriate for this pedestrian-oriented district. That signage has often been mounted on a stone lintel between the first and second story. That if illuminated, signs may only be externally illuminated and may only use light fixtures that prevent light spillage onto adjacent properties. And then the preferred use of neon lighting is as an element within sign cabinets, such as for lettering, as well as for field over backlighting, radiating from behind the letter. And the projecting blade sign guidelines set the maximum allowable area for a projecting sign that will be supported is 12 square feet.
So over to you.
Thank you. As a response to your business meeting, we revised the design to utilize the existing blade sign that was remaining from Serendipity, simply repainting it and adding new graphics. The blade is existing, but we'd have to take it down into our plant to refinish it properly instead of trying to paint it in the field, which would never last. The existing blade had some recessed LED lighting from Serendipity that would remain, and we are requesting to put channel letters on each side of the blade that have an RGB LED, which would allow them to change colors with holidays. Pink for Breast Cancer Week, or green and red for the Christmas. They're certainly not loud or moving, but they do have the ability to change the internal light color.
Okay, I'm just out of curiosity, do you have any knowledge of whether any of the graphic on the side of the building was intended to remain? It was from the previous.
It was removed a long time
Oh,
ago
it is?
as a condition of the lease. When the tenant leaves, they're supposed to return the lease space to how they, it was quite a chore removing that vinyl decal. It's like peeling a bumper sticker one little piece at a time.
Sounds great. Okay, so let's go through thoughts. Jen, you want to start?
I basically would have had, if I had been at the business meeting, made the same comments as expressed. When we approved this sign, it was supposed to look like a sculptural falling off, from that paint splatter. So it was really supposed to look more of a piece of art. I don't even know that that was very successfully done. And I would take the blame because I feel like I pushed for that. And so I do not believe that this is I think the whole sign just needs removed from the building personally. Is that it, like staff, is that an option, or do we have to approve a sign here now since it's there?
Well, if we flip back, they will show you what was submitted right there. Right there, that was what they came in with.
Right.
In the business meeting, we were saying, "No, wait a minute, The only reason we let a sign go that high up the building was because the other was artful piece of sculpture, the red, and we were looking for something that supported the arts district in that it wasn't just another plain old blade sign.
Right.
So,
And then looking back at the COA, it does stipulate that any new tenants would have to follow the traditional signage guidelines. You know, I wasn't here for when that COA was issued, but I did see that it says it.
Okay, yeah,
Just-
so,
Just
My
for
mind.
clarity, we are retaining the sculpture as requested. We weren't on our first at the meeting, and they asked us to change to use the sculpture was there, and that's exactly what we're utilizing is the sculpture.
Right.
Simply changing the color, the red has nothing to do with the building. Now that the red swirl's gone, it has nothing to do with their branding. So we're changing the color of the blade to their branding, but it's the exact same blade that was there for and approved for Serendipity.
Okay, let's keep going around. Brooke?
I like what you've done with that sign. I think my problem is that the sign is so high and the business is on the ground floor. So there's a disconnect. I think.
I'm not aware their business is on the ground floor. I think they took the same spaces. They took the same space as Serendipity.
yeah, they took over Serendipity, which is floors 2 and 3 of the
Oh,
building.
okay. All right, my mistake. I thought that this business was on the ground floor, not the second floor.
Do you have anything else, Brooke?
No,
Lauren?
I understand where you say that this is the sculpture that you're retaining, but ultimately this was a part of a bigger art piece. So when you paint it gray, it's just a sign. It's not necessarily a sculpture. It's not as artistic as the first one because there's not any art meaning behind it. You know, it's just, well, you repainted the sign and then rebranded it. So it's not art anymore. It's just a large sign. And ultimately, I have to go back to the COA where we did stipulate that any next tenants would have to follow the rules. So I would say either come up with a new signage that would be within the Italian Village short guidelines, or come up with a really cool art piece that's different from this. Because I think repainting it is not keeping it art. It's just making it a sign that we would normally provide you.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think the cat's out of the bag on this one. I don't share the same concern, I guess. I just don't.
Would you consider it art if it remained red? Is that your
No,
concern?
it's not, but without that art swirl, that was a part of the whole piece. It's not.
You're aware the swirl was totally removed from the sign.
yeah,
They weren't
but
tied
from like
together.
a distance, it
I'm
was
just
like tiny
pointing
there.
out the fact that they weren't even connected.
Yep.
One was clear over on the left of the building over a penthouse, and this sign's centered on, I mean, they weren't tied together any physical way, so.
I understand. I'm really trying to argue the point that whenever we approve, especially signs in this area, they have to be really artful and mindful of the district that they're in. And I don't think that this sign does it.
Okay, it's the exact same sculpture that was there before, and it did before, so that's my only confusion. It did before, so if the color change was the problem, that's what I was communicating.
I think I just do want to make, I mean, we just made this statement earlier with a different application for an entirely different, use, which is about precedence, and which is why in the previous COA, it said that the next tenant would have to abide by guidelines, because at this point, that's what was kind of protecting us for the art piece. Now, at this point, if we were to approve this, everyone is going to come at us wanting, huge signs.
I would push back a little on that. I think the fact that it exists and they're replacing it like for like, I don't feel like if someone else came and said, I wanted to do the same thing, I would have to do that. I'd say, no, we tried it. And the first place didn't last as a business, and somebody else did it exactly the same. So for me, I would feel comfortable if there were 10 other people on the street that wanted to have big blade signs up the top of the building. Just say no. And they would say, this is a precedent. So here's the reason why it's not a precedent, because we did it in this particular way. as a sculpture in that circumstance. If you want to, again, blah, blah, and this one is just retaining, in my opinion, something we've already got up there. I get that we had a provision for them to take it down, so yeah, I mean, we could help hold to that, but I don't know. I don't think it's particularly burdensome on that stretch of street based on the new set of construction that's there. So, again, but whatever the commission votes, I guess, is where we'll go.
I just want to bring up one other comment that nobody has talked on. When a group, 20 people, both from both sides of the high street, set up the guidelines for High Street, in the signage guidelines, it says no flashing lights. It sounds, you said loud and bright and moving.
Doesn't move, doesn't flash, just the ability to change the color.
Okay, so it's a soft gradation, and the only thing that's going to change the color is the name.
Correct.
Would be possibly pink but it's not going to be red, white, and blue or.
You can certainly control, you can make it a stipulation of your approval that it will be one color at a time, or however you want to phrase it. Yes, sir. Sometimes we have to agree with message centers to leave the message static for 10 seconds or something. That's a condition. So certainly you could make it that a condition.
I was just recalling to some of the numbers or some that were not on the commission at that time. We had certain retailers that had twirling lights in their windows of their stores. It was real honky tonk. It was pretty bad.
There were a lot of things in the windows back then. Anyway, we'll leave it
So
at that.
my vote would be to leave it as a piece of sculpture. That's how it got permitted. I don't think that we could argue that the other alternative is a better solution. If we go back to the first one, that being in on the business meeting. I don't think that, I would vote this one down. It doesn't work up high. It doesn't fit the guidelines on the other things we've done. So that's an absolute no. I would accept the recoloring of it and keeping the sculptural piece there. I admit it is not as strong as you both brought up, connecting with the graphic that would be, or at the end of price. That's the way you could see that building where First Avenue jogs. It doesn't align with the other jog, First Avenue. So I'm in favor of leaving it, but if the consensus, I will also understand your arguments about it isn't as effective as it was when it was written.
I feel like Brooks is swing vote, so Shannon and Lauren, do you want to plead your case?
I feel like I already did. I'm not gonna die on the sword.
Yeah.
Might I ask if we added a logo off where the other one was, would that, okay, just offering to try to
No, I
get it back to where you were.
Does the commission feel about the lighting? Was the previous sign, is that how, like a full letter projecting light?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
So that's another. thing
No,
that's
it was
easy.
graphic, yeah. I'm okay with the push through letter. I mean, yeah, I mean, we've used those in a ton of places. So I don't know if I'm crazy about like the lights, the colors shifting. I think I prefer that was like a color at a time.
You can certainly make that a condition of the approval. That's just an upgrade option to have them change colors. If you want them to
I think we
remain
want to
white.
take it away from the arches.
No, yeah.
That's what ought to be doing the color changes. It does. Why?
I think it's just a color.
Care about Christmas, they make it green or something. I don't care if it changes colors over time. I just don't want it changing color all night.
Empire State.
We have no control on that.
Okay, so, anybody care to make a motion, and I'll do a roll call vote, we'll see where this thing ends up, so.
Let me start it, because I think the applicant did hear what was said at the business meeting and did respond to it. So I'm going to try with a motion to approve the modification to the original, is it serendipity?
Yeah.
Okay. The reuse, let's leave, the repurposing of the existing sculptural sign as presented tonight.
And do you want to say anything about the lighting or any of those issues at all?
Understanding that the sign will only have one color at a time, that it can be changed, but it isn't to be flipping around and moving around.
at a time on a given day.
Thank you.
There we
For
go.
a given day, I was looking for that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I will do a roll call vote here and see where we end up. So Lauren?
No.
Brooke?
Yes.
Shannon?
No.
Jason's yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it does carry.
That approved?
It is. Yeah, thanks. Good debate, though. I think everybody got an excellent point on that. Okay, no, second to last before, yeah, because just out of curiosity, did anyone ever come in for Greenwood Avenue then? Okay. Looks like.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot. Okay, so we're on to,
Coming on 6 o'clock, I just want to let you know, I have a meeting at 6:30, but by 6:30, so
right, okay.
looks like we're maybe gonna be okay.
Okay, okay, we have a different Greenwood Avenue, 233 East Greenwood. Eric, can you remind me, is this the one that you presented with Logan last month?
No.
This is not?
This is not, like.
Okay, gotcha.
This was presented at the September.
Gotcha, okay. All right, so you've already been sworn in and staff, whenever you're ready, you can tell us what's happening with this.
This project is proposing new construction. The proposal is to construct a new duplex on Greenwood Avenue, and that new construction is to include attached garages providing 4 parking spaces. The application was previously reviewed conceptually at the September hearing, and then the commission comments are included on the agenda in the staff report. Staff also notes that any current variance will need to be submitted for review. The applicant has submitted some variances today, which is we need them just in time for staff to be able to review and for the commission. So staff recommends that approval of application IB-21-11-014 be approved contingent on variance recommendation and approval, or for the commission to continue the application to allow the applicant time to submit the finalized variances for review and recommendation. And that recommendation is based on the guidelines for the standards for new construction, or excuse me, the city code for construction.
Okay. What do you have, Gary?
Just kind of to review where we were last time I presented this, there was discussion about the entry doors to the building. There was discussion about the location of the garage doors, whether one faced Greenwood or they both faced the alley. Other than that, most of the comments were fairly in support of the project. And so we have resolved both of those. Well, we've resolved the entry doors so that the entry doors are showing towards the alley there. The porch has gotten a little bit larger through that process. And then both of the garage doors are now facing the alley, which I think kind of certainly helps that corner, which is a kind of an acute angle. Would likely kind of end up getting cut a bit anyway.
Gotcha. Okay, who wants to start? Here.
So there's no sidewalk along the alley side, right?
There is no sidewalk along the alley.
I'm thinking the curb cut issue and are we back to Mona Lisa?
Yeah, I don't know, that's a pretty, that's a pretty alley-ish alley.
I think that just the difference between that project and this one is the distance between the doors. Mona Lisa's got doors lined up and a handful of feet apart, and so I understand the undulation of the aprons and things like that. But because our doors are.
Does your client own the lot to the east?
No.
basically making that a landmark.
Okay, do you have specific thoughts, David?
No, I don't.
You said you did.
No.
Brooke?
Um, I do, they're just subjective. So, I think I said this when I first saw it. There's so much going on the west elevation. If I would prefer to see maybe, newer materials. The one that's, I think, really, stands out to me as being kind of, peculiar is the smooth fiber cement with the battens. Other than that, I don't know.
In the center or
Yeah,
around the door?
yeah, in the center, and on the east elevation, it just seems very awkward to me. But that's just, a personal opinion, it's just.
Stay with that on the
very
east elevation. Is it where you're seeing both horizontal and
Yeah,
vertical?
it's the area with battens, the, smooth, fiber cement with the battens, I think is the biggest thing. It's just seems overdone. That's just, there's no comment.
Lauren? Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think from the perspective of getting those doors back up, kind of pulled around, it really helps. I hear what you're saying, David. I don't think based on the way that alley is functioning now, I do feel it's sort of a,
Just straight.
yeah, it's not a straight out situation. I do, obviously cars will be in there, but I do think it's gonna be a place that still functions as sort of a mixed pedestrian way as a couple of alleys surrounding that area do.
Anybody have height issues given this mass? Looking at the rest of the block that it's in. Let's go to that aerial view.
So, I mean, for me, the height, it isn't as much of a problem because of its proximity to, a larger commercial building.
Yeah, it's more this block that are residential, not as big as the height, and we're putting a balcony up on top again, and
Kind of think that 241, which is the small house there, for better or for worse, I feel like we've sort of left that one as the anomaly on the street rather than the precedent at this point. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but I think over time we've sort of given up on the scale being as small as that, and the rest of the houses are not that much smaller than what is being proposed here, I think. And then, of course, you jump to the big building, of course, so I think for me, it's okay. Do I think it's ideal? No, I wish we could rearrange all those in some magic fashion, but that's where the house was, so that's where it was. Any other thoughts out there? What do we want to do with this? We ready to make a motion?
Yeah, I mean, it's not conceptual, right? Up for action?
It was submitted for action.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I move to approve application 15 IV 21.
Do you have any condition? Okay. Do I have a second?
Do you want to condition it on variances?
Oh, I forgot about the variances. I sure do. Yeah.
then that needs an A and a B. One is to recommend.
Oh,
I didn't see variances on.
No, so the variances will need to come back.
Yeah.
And so we can either continue or you can approve the condition, it being conditional variances.
I think it's, approve it with it being conditional on the variances that will come back to the commission for final recommendation.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call on this one. David?
Stay.
Okay. Shannon?
Yeah.
Brooke,
Yes.
Lauren, and I'm a yes. So 4 yes, 1 abstention. Okay.
Great time again.
All right, thanks. And I think we are down to, unless somebody miraculously shows up for another one, I think we're down to 56 something, correct?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, will you please take or raise your right hand, state your name for the record?
Matthew Miller?
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this evening.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. And we will have staff fill us in.
Okay, so this is a conceptual application. The proposal is to construct a new 2-car garage for the submitted documentation. At the October business meeting, the commission asked about light fixtures, noting that gooseneck lighting on the garage would be appropriate and recommended having a light at the rear door. The commission noted that the garage is a large enough structure and situated behind a historic building that 2 doors would be more appropriate versus a single wide door. So the recommendation, since this is a conceptual application, is that the commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future Italian Village Commission meeting. So no action is required for this application tonight. And the basis for any feedback should be based on the city code standards for new construction.
Okay, thanks. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, owner occupier of the property, just would like to build a garage, so we are not parking in a barren spot. There was a garage there before, but it was only like a 1.5 car garage. It was raised. So we're gonna build a bigger one, back there to fit 2 cars. Right, I'll be getting on.
Fair enough.
Do you understand the comments about the light fixture? Yes, yes, and we've already picked out light fixtures to talk to the architect about revising that, the gooseneck lights. Would you be, willing to do a 2-car? We're open to it. We're gonna talk to the architect. We want to talk to building and zoning because we will need to get a variance on the setbacks, or it might be a maneuverability issue if there's 2 doors. No, should not. Okay, well, we're open to it, but we're gonna work through the building and zoning just to make sure the maneuverability is fine. Just want to make sure everything is good. When you come back to us, would you please bring the finishes you want to use? One of the issues we have, a lot of garages that have been sneaking by where the door is a primary white, and it does in fact, one is very close to your neighbor. Yes, that's not, I'm well aware of that. Okay, okay, great. Yeah, no, we're gonna do something, a nice steel door, already picked it out. I think you've got a very solid, project here, so if you would just tweak a few things, I think to go through. Absolutely.
Shannon?
I have no additional comment.
Nothing more.
All right.
Yeah, just a more complete package. It looks good.
Okay.
This.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add either. And then, find out what you can about the maneuverability and
Yeah.
we obviously have allowed single garage doors in that circumstance before. So just keep that in mind as you're going through the design process and doing your investigation. That can help you.
Excellent.
Do you have any other questions for us today?
No, I appreciate your time. Yeah, great.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. I'll see you next month.
Yeah.
I'd like to be new and exciting, Jason, but I'm old business.
You sure are.
Oh, you have old business. Now we've had old business. Okay, there we go. Well, you are up.
Get up here.
You are the finale. I have the thing for this. Oops, shoot. Yeah, so Shannon, I think you're on for this one.
Okay. All right, raise your right hand, promise to tell the truth to the best of your ability.
Sure do.
Perfect, stop.
Okay, so this old business item is coming back to us regarding some variance adjustments. So the variance would include section 3312.095. And so there's a change from the previously recommended variances that improved 8-foot wide minimum easement to a 10-foot wide minimum easement. The reason for the change is due to the fire department requesting more width for the maneuvering of fire trucks. Additionally, the applicant has removed the previously recommended section 3312.25 maneuvering. And the reason for that removal is that the 90-degree spaces were removed from the site design and the variance is no longer required as a result. So at the October business meeting, the commission did not identify any concerns ahead of the hearing. So staff recommends approval or recommending application ID-21-05-005. 375 East Fifth Avenue as submitted, with any clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the recommendation certificate. And that recommendation is based on that the work is generally consistent with the city code standards for site improvements.
So it seems to be a technicality. Lauren? I'm good with this. Brooke? David? All right, do I have a motion?
Well, let me back up and ask you just a minute from the planning situation. Does that compromise anything that? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One piece, if I could.
Oh, yeah, I didn't allow you to talk.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm usually not even having to be asked to talk. It's kind of crazy for me, really. But as most of you know, I've been directed by, this is all a precursor to basically zoning commission. So we've made it through all the way through to there, and their staff has pointed out, hey, there are subtle changes based upon what you all had voted for previously. The changes, as noted, are minimal, and in fact, they're less restrictive than what you've already voted on. All of that said, there is a new one that allows, at the end of the day, I'm going to hand these out to you, and I need to have these specifically accepted.
Yes,
If that's
yes,
okay.
we will accept.
And I can walk you directly through them.
Like since pre-COVID, if anyone's passionate.
You don't have to hand it to me. Understand? Staff would be essential though. Wonderful.
Well, I would like to probably.
You know, have the chair. Yeah. So you'll see the changes here. That's the old one. It's the new one. The only differential
So the bottom is.
is at the very top. You are correct. It is for the dumpster placement that you guys have seen as part of the landscape plan. That is new. And I realized that they needed me to do that as well. So the vote technically has to be to accept these as the variances. Yes, I'm coming over right now. I was taking an awkward route. This is what I think.
So are there any changes to what we have for the materials?
This was what was previous, number 4. But as I mentioned, number 4 is what was seen and approved as part of the landscape plan. So there's nothing substantially changed. So they did get direction specifically from council staff that that is what needs to be voted on.
So I'm going to read this out just for the record. So the initially submitted item was section 3333.255. Perimeter yard to reduce perimeter yard from 25 feet to 0 feet for building and pavement setbacks and those are locations on north, south, east, and west yards as depicted on the site plan. What has just been put before us reads section 3333.255. Perimeter yard to reduce perimeter yard from 25 feet to 0 feet, 0 feet, 0 feet, and 4 feet for building and pavement setbacks and dumpster locations on the north, south, east, and west yards as depicted on the site plan.
So the 0, the 12 to 0.
Specifically on the south side of the plan, if you could zoom in. Go back to the plan you're on, please. A couple back. There we go. South down at the bottom.
Wait, I'm not on a plan.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm just trying to show you
that.
pictorially on the screen. Yes, yes. It is there. That was not identified prior to.
Any comments, Lauren, Brooke, David?
So the double doors in the 2 containers, that's the trash? That's correct, sir. How do you get to I see where the doors are set, the one, the truck can get in and get it. How do you get the one above? There are doors on the up and above it as well. Just, they're not in the. They're just not in the civil plan. Have we seen the detail of that? You have as part of the landscape. I would happily resubmit that if needed as well. Shown before. I just don't recall that. I'm sorry.
Great, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
It's a recommendation for you.
Correct.
All those in favor?
I'm sorry.
Oh, right, seconding, oh, new at this chair, vice chair thing. Okay, have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We should probably make a note that applicants submitted one additional change. So that covered on that.
Yeah, and that change will, have to be shown in the record certificate anyway.
Staff, I'll follow up. I did send this electronically, and I will follow up with it again, just so it's at the top of your notes.
See, it should have. Good.
No worries. Amount of paper you're going through weekly is astounding anyway, so I understand completely. You got it. Thank you all. Good. Vice Chair, could you make a motion, or would you accept the motion to adjourn?
I would. All those in favor?
I
Hey.
second too.
It feels like it's 10 o'clock at night, guys. This time change has really just pushed me over the edge.
Our one candidate with 2 applications didn't show up.
I think that they must have gotten confused by staff approvals. Like, I wonder if they thought it was approved.